Life will appear to mess with you if you give it permission to. The cool thing is, you can set boundaries in your relationship with life, just like any other relationship that you have. Technically, you're really just setting boundaries with yourself, with what thoughts you choose to believe and put on repeat in your inner mind playlist, with how you emotionally respond to the situations that happen in your life, both expected and unexpected. There are absolutely paths that you can take from here to live your version of an enjoyable life. And it doesn't involve having to create and live some audacious, outrageous vision before you are allowed to live in a deeply enjoyable way. So, right now, you and I are going to tune into a few things that will assist you in making these shifts, not just something that you do one time, but something that you can come back to again and again to live your version of your most enjoyable life. Now, I'm Danielle Lynn. I connect with super rad cats, such as yourself, who are remembering how to live in your most energy effective and thriving way yet. We're meeting during the time when the light is going down. Let's see how much we can get in within this space. Much of what we imagine is complicated in this world simply boils down to us being really kind to ourselves. It must be complicated because I haven't figured it out yet. I find that much of life is actually quite simple. The thing is, simplicity can sometimes feel slow, boring, uninteresting. We tend to be spicy creatures. We tend to like a little bit of zest in our experience of life. If we get a little carried away with that zest, though, we sometimes run into experiences where we might temporarily feel trapped by the stories of our life, by our own inner responses. Because as you know, when you practice a thought or emotion enough, it actually starts becoming a visceral embodied experience. Like we literally physically program ourselves to feel and respond a certain way. That's why it can appear to be hard if you are chronically feeling crappy. It can feel hard to live in a better feeling state because you are habitually, physiologically programmed to feel a certain way. Now, that being said, nothing here is lost and nothing here is irreversible. And in fact, quite the opposite is true. You are a being that is able to shift. You are technically a being that is always shifting. And now you are shifting more and more so each day in a way that actually assists you in living the version of life you want. Now, this isn't about manifestation techniques, although you could see this as living the version of life you want, which would inherently come with a lot of the experiences that you likely want to experience. This is more about being so committed with living as who you truly are that nothing else matters nearly as much. Because once you actually connect with the one thing that matters, everything else shifts. Something that people don't always realize is there's only one thing we can ever truly, fully care about in any given moment. Some people might say, well, that's not true. I care about my family and I care about my job and I care about my health. Well, all of those things can still be wrapped up in a main core care about living as the embodiment of who you are, which would then inherently contain within it all those subsets. But for example, it wouldn't be, from my perspective, healthy to prioritize your family well-being above your well-being because your well-being is included in your family's well-being. So therefore, by being able to prioritize your healthy, coherent version and embodiment of self, all other things are considered and factored in. When you understand that, you can start to look at the previous stories you've had about any of your dreams, any of your visions, any of the things that you had previously delayed, and you can start looking at them from a new lens. A lot of times people think they have to wait before they can start living and embodying their version of what they want to live. But this is a fallacy. This is a delay tactic when perhaps we don't feel ready or prepared. I find that when you give yourself permission to live as who you truly are, then it actually becomes energy effective to prioritize the things you want to live in life. I would say the big challenge people might come up against when they understand this is many times you have established patterns in your life. But I want to clarify something with you. This is not about having to be aggressive with your life or even aggressive with others. In fact, making the shift into who you resonantly are is a lot more of a gentle, steady, loving commitment to honoring your inner yeses and nos, which will ultimately assist you in sorting out everything else in your life. Because the funny thing is when you start making those energetic shifts inside and then you live them consistently outside, people naturally shift with you or they shift away. Situations naturally shift with you or they shift away. And so, without having to mentally or externally force things to happen, situations come up to be reviewed and experienced. People come forward to be met and see if they want to continue with you or not. You start to realize that you are embodying the version of yourself that is prioritizing your core vision. And your core vision doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what you create. It has to do with how much of yourself you allow yourself to live. I'll say this another way. Living your passion has much more to do with how much of your energy you are allowing to be alive and express itself at any given time. The external things that happen are more like the symptoms that show up as you continue to give yourself permission again and again and again to say the yeses and the nos and enforce them. And so, in many ways, if there's a vision, if there's something in your life that you've been sitting with and you've been trying to figure it out, part of what you are inviting yourself to do is you're inviting yourself to actually let go of stories of who you had to be to clear enough space so that you can identify what is alive in you and start to prioritize your energy and your decision making in that direction. Now, a few practical notes. I often say to people, they're like, well, what if I have responsibilities? What if I have people I'm caring for? What if I have things in my life? I often say to people, I find it is key to honor your word, to honor your responsibilities, and you can evaluate agreements you've made. You can bring them up. You can explore possibilities of what is more of a yes for you. If immediate answers don't come forward, keep taking the steps every day. Focus your energy on being curious. And you would be surprised at how many things pop up that seem to answer the question. A lot of people get preoccupied with the how. How is it going to work? How's it going to work? That matters so much less than you think. How it all needs to happen, this is something that the mind cares about. And it's one of the ways the mind attempts to keep itself and you in a pattern of thinking rather than a pattern of embodiment. All that ever matters is the current step. I often say to people, you can give the how like 5-10 minutes, something like this. If you feel really audacious about the vision, give it one day, but then you drop the how. And at that point, you just start living it. Because even with the best planned hows, things shift and change along the way. So what we are doing is we're meeting the field of life moment to moment with our most clear aim that we know. And in doing so, in being so, we are actually transforming not only the inner life, but the outer life. Because the core of what's mattering here is how you actually embody the state. The thoughts of how can be answered in all kinds of creative ways. Let's get curious. Write 10 steps. Take one of them to start. You may make a lot of mistakes. You may have many places where the doors are shut, but it doesn't matter. Because the goal isn't perfection. The state you have chosen is to live your version of life that is a yes to you. When you choose that, nothing can ultimately stand in your way because there is an indomitable will. Because the will to have can melt any door, can open any portal. And it has nothing to do with forcing or efforting. It has to do with simply understanding that your yeses and nos are the way that you are navigating moment to moment. And without having the whole picture of how it will be, the inevitability is there. I invite you, my friend, to contemplate this possibility for yourself. After all, this message has shown up for you right now. Perhaps there are things you're contemplating in your life, visions that you are wanting to bring forward. Whatever is alive for you, just know you have everything you need within you right here and right now to live the current step of your vision. It takes far less effort than you think to simply give yourself permission to take each iterative step that you take now. Meet yourself at the capacity you have right now. Don't compare yourself to anyone else's journey. You are here, you are now, and you are connected to your most thriving path. My friend, if it's alive with you to bring something audacious forward in the world, and you have felt a spark in your heart about working with me personally and professionally, I have a portal group that is opening up, me, you, and a small group, intimate group of fellow alchemists who are choosing to land their creation, their vision, their heart's awareness in this reality. If you would like to learn more about this portal and explore it, please check the description link under portal. And if you find us at another now moment and that portal is complete, you may always sign up for the flow book for notifications on if, where, and when the next portal emerges. My friend, it's been an honor to connect with you today, and I look forward to our next connection.